leader of official opposition in Kenya. That is a talk in town. Whether to have that office or not, whether that is useful to this country at this time or not. This is a suggestion from the President of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, that in order to deal with the issue of winner takes all, we need to create an office for the leader of opposition. It has even been argued by others alongside that he will then be automatically nominated to the House, with I think his running mate being nominated to Senate. What is my thinking? First, coming from those who opposed BBI, coming from those who came up with the nonsense of the basic structure, from those who argued that to amend the Constitution is to mutilate the Constitution, it doesn't make sense. I may sound a little harsh, but that's the point. There can be no better way of messing the structure of government than introducing leader of official opposition. The leader of official opposition will be a clumsy office. It will be an awkward office. The political architecture of our Constitution does not envisage a situation where we will have an opposition leader. Indeed, Parliament does not have opposition. Instead, Parliament has a minority and a majority side. And everybody else is government. They are in. The sort of office we are trying to create in the name of dealing with the issue of winner take all is clumsy and awkward, because not only is it an affront on the Constitution, but basically it would work with the parliamentary system of government. Kenya is a presidential system of government. Indeed, there will be nothing wrong with that office. But we must start where we must start, which is to have a real look at our Constitution. Try to do what BBI was trying to do, but with hindsight, perhaps do it better. Re-engineer our Constitution and its architecture. And ask ourselves, does a presidential system that breeds winner take all serve us well? Would we be better off with a parliamentary system that then allows for that office of official opposition to exist? Or would we, as an African country, in a Kenyan context, with the benefit of history, would we perhaps be better off with a hybrid system? Of course, nothing like the nonsense that came from Naivasha that was being discussed at Naivasha in 2010. Can we tax our mind and our brains? We look at the presidential system that we have poorly copied and look at the Westminster system and fashion one for ourselves. Only then, after having looked at the Constitution and perhaps agreed on the parliamentary system or a hybrid system, only then can somebody introduce the issue of the opposition office. As it were, A good reading of the Constitution will tell you that sort of change can only be achieved through a referendum. And therein lies the danger, because the framers of our Constitution left it to the president to decide whether or not to refer a bill to IEBC for onward referendum without reference to anybody. So in other words, President William Ruto can have his way. He can have Parliament pass the law, and when it lands on his desk, he assents it into law, when in fact, indeed, he should have referred that bill to IEBC for a referendum. Where does that leave us as a country? First, we will have messed our Constitution. But much more serious is that this will be coming from those who cried loudest about mutilating the Constitution, about the basic structure. And sad that should such a thing end up in our courts, the same courts could as well speak otherwise. That is dangerous for the country. But what's more dangerous, and this is my concern, that we all know this is tokenism. We all know the president does not necessarily mean good or well for the country, that he's dealing with a winner takes all. But it is a strategy, a tactic to make the opposition more docile than it already is. By dangling these carrots, it makes me sad this afternoon to imagine that the people who almost came close to delivering this country, led by Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, could fall for such a trick. Sad will be the day when we wake up to hear the opposition, including Raila, have embraced the idea. Much sadder, comical. I can imagine them fighting over that position. Yes, President William Ruto is a smart guy. He has calculated that dangle this idea and there will be no opposition to that idea, as unconstitutional as it is, as awkward as that office is. Instead of opposing the idea, they will be fighting over it. Martha Karua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Raila Odinga. They may be fighting over that office. Because if the intention is to deliver tokenism, is to dangle the carrot, you can more or less conclude this early that the trappings of that office, the material trappings of the office, will make even Raila Odinga go for it. This afternoon, I want to remind Raila Odinga, the people have trusted you. When you have entered into handshake with Kibaki, they have understood. You did it for country. When you got a raw deal from Sagana Raila Odinga from Mwai Kibaki, people were annoyed, but they said that is the cost of peace. When you went into a handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta, people knew the country had been torn into two. Talk of secession was not a joke. We are going to lose the country we love. And therefore, people hated it, but they understood. I want to bring the attention of Raila Odinga. If you become part of the attempt to allow this tokenism, if you present yourself, Raila Amolo Odinga, as one of the people fighting for it, for that office, you'll have destroyed the country and the people who love you so much, and the people who have so much hope in you. But beyond that, allowing this mutilation and destruction of our constitution and tokenism to take place, because that's not the way it will stop. There is CDF, supported from the highest office, utterly unconstitutional, said by none other than the Supreme Court we gave ourselves, and a host of other things to follow. The moment you open the floodgates by allowing this constitutional amendment to be processed through Parliament, because you need those offices, I want to ask you, Raila Odinga, to remember the thousands of people who have lost property, and still thousands of people who have lost jobs. The hundreds of people who have died in the process of trying to make this country a better place. The many Kenyans who lost opportunity to be promoted in government and other places of work merely because they are associated with you, with the movement, or merely for having their name starting with O. Of the families that had to bury loved ones, but accepted it as part of the ultimate sacrifice to make this country a better place. Accepting Raila Odinga to be part of this move will be a betrayal of the highest level, of the highest order. It will signify perhaps the end of the hope that millions of Kenyans have had that one day they will deliver their country. It may look like a small thing, but this is the time, Raila Odinga, to stand with the movement and the people of this country, to say no to tokenism and an attempt to render the opposition docile through carrot dangling and handouts. Because it will sound the end of any opposition in this country. But the president's idea is a good idea, that we can have the office of the official opposition, the royal opposition in the UK, but that sits within a parliamentary system. So Raila Odinga, lead the nation in convincing all, including the president, that our constitution requires a relook. Let us look at our constitution so that it can serve us better and serve generations to come, so that through our constitution we may govern ourselves well and achieve plenty within our borders, and that the Kenyan children will have their dreams realized. But any attempt at smuggling in changes that are unconstitutional, whose ultimate result is to destroy whatever little opposition we have and put an end to any hope that this country can be delivered, must be resisted. My advice to Raila Odinga: if you support this thing, you will present yourself as a cheap opportunist, which certainly you are not. Stand firm. You've done so much for this country. You've given this country direction. You've sacrificed so much. One more time of sacrifice may be all that is required to change this country, by directing our energies as a country into making this country a better place and not wasting time, resources, energy, creating red herrings, creating tokenisms, dangling carrots, and in the process killing opposition as we know it, however weak and feeble it is. This attempt must be resisted by all, and it will be tragic should such a move receive the support of the top Azimio leadership, Kalonzo Musyoka, Raila Odinga, Martha Karua. It will be tragic. Resist the temptation, because the people will see you supporting that so as to get the trappings of that office. It's not worth the struggle you've gone through. It's not worth the pain. And certainly, it's not what the people of this country desire for themselves, for their children, and for the children of their children.